Hi, this is Chris from needlepointers.com. Today I'm here to share with you this quilt I just finished. This is the pen and paper sampler quilt with an additional border. Helping me with this quilt display is my cat Newt. He's taken up residence there on the quilt. You may also see Teddy come into the frame at some point as the other orange cat. I made this quilt from Milo's college bed. I know, it's really large. I wanted it to be able to be used throughout their college years, and so we made it larger than a twin bed size. The quilt ended up being closer to a queen size quilt. For freshman year, they will probably be in a twin bed, but they can fold the quilt to make it fit. We purchased the sampler quilt pattern from Pen and Paper. The sampler quilt finishes at 65 by 76. The part of the quilt with the white background is the sampler quilt. We added the peach and green background borders to make the quilt larger. The sampler quilt pattern includes 6 separate quilt patterns and 25 blocks from those patterns. Each pattern is available separately or in the sampler pack. If you are interested in purchasing the patterns, click the link in the description below to visit our webpage for this quilt project. On that page, we will have a link to purchase the pen and paper sampler quilt pattern. We are an Etsy affiliate, so we do appreciate any purchases you make through our links. To make the quilt larger and experiment with colors to use, I used Electric Quilt 8 to mock up all of the blocks in the sampler quilt pattern. I knew we wanted to add another border around the quilt to make it larger. The 1.5 inch peach border was added as a separator to transition from the center to the additional border. We also realized that we already owned a copy of the pen and paper Sparrows pattern, so we decided to incorporate that into the quilt. We then added the flowers, snails, and moths from the sampler quilt pattern to the border. In between the blocks, I decided to fill in using a piano keys type of scrappy border. One final border in green surrounds the outside of the quilt. Once I had the quilt in EQ8, Milo was able to experiment with fabric colors to finalize the design. By mapping out each of the blocks, EQ8 then lets you place different colors in each patch. So for the birds, Milo decided to make them have goldfinch and robin colorings. The folk bloom blocks were colored like sunflowers, and the daisy blocks were colored as white daisies and black-eyed Susans. So EQ8 allowed us to truly make this quilt unique. It also gave us an estimate on the amounts of fabric that would be needed. Since there were so many different patterns used for this quilt, I printed them out and put them into this 3-ring binder to keep myself organized. I kept the sampler quilt instructions at the beginning, and this has my sheet with the fabric printout and swatches. This helped me keep track of which fabrics were purchased for each color. At the fabric store, Milo selected each fabric, and we used the estimates given by EQ8 to purchase the fabric. I will say that I did run out of the background white fabric and had to purchase more in order to finish the last border around the center section. The quilt instructions do state the yardages are estimates, and it can depend on the order you cut the pieces as to how much you will need. I was pretty good at reusing smaller pieces, but I still ran out of the white. So if you make the sampler quilt, I recommend that you buy an extra 2 yards of the background fabric. I came close to running out of the green background also, but we had purchased extra to use in the flange binding, so I had just enough. We paired the green with the peach border fabric to create the binding. If you're looking for fabrics for a quilt, Missouri Star has 20% off a $50 purchase until July 30th. Just look for the link in the description below to find our affiliate link to Missouri Star and get the 20% off. For each block pattern, I cut and then assembled all of the blocks for that pattern. I worked my way through each of the 7 block patterns. Once I had all the blocks completed, I followed the instructions on the sampler quilt pattern to assemble the center of the quilt. I then added the peach border. To make the outer green background border, I laid out the blocks in their positions. The snail block was a smaller block, so I added an extra green border around it, so it would be 10 inches by 10 inches, like the daisy and the moth blocks. The bird blocks finish at 10 inches by 16, so they fit in along the top and the bottom. Once I had all the blocks set in the border, I created scrappy binding strips between the blocks using the leftover fabric. This let me finish assembling the green border. Lastly, I added an outer green border to finish the quilt top. For the backing, Milo selected this beautiful print fabric. Since this quilt was so large, I took it to a friend, Becky, from Sugarloaf Quilting to be quilted. Milo selected the pattern and the thread color. Becky did a wonderful job quilting this quilt. If you live in the DC metro area, look up Sugarloaf Quilting. She does long arm quilting and also makes beautiful quilts for sale. For the binding, I use my favorite binding method, flange binding. Milo picked to use the peach for the flange and the green background fabric for the binding. So that's about it for this quilt. We hope you enjoyed learning about this pen and paper sampler quilt I made. If you would like to learn more about the patterns I used and how I added the additional border, please visit the web page linked in the description of this video. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like and share our videos, and if you are not a subscriber, subscribe to our channel so you won't miss future videos. Visit our website, needlepointers.com, for lots of other quilting and sewing tutorials and free projects. While you're there, sign up for our free weekly newsletter so you won't miss new tutorials. Happy quilting!